Okay, ready to go. I'll add you in. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on the stream. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing good, and you?
Yeah, I'm doing all right. I just managed to get a score of 18, which I feel is okay, but what do you consider to be an actually good score in this game?
Oh, it's good. Like from people who played it like for a short time, I've had like the score about like 10 to 15. It's quite good.
Hmm.
I've reached 55. I think that's
Oh my
the
goodness.
highest.
So I think that like it's it's neat that you don't like you sort of have to infer what the mini game is. Um, like you have to infer what the idiom is from the mini game. But I think that
Yeah.
unfortunately that is sort of withholding a bit of important context from the player, um, because those WarioWare microgames are successful because they make it very obvious what you're supposed to do, but also, like, sorry, in more than one way. The player character, like what you actually control as the player, is very clear and obvious. And then your objective, like the usually it's just like one word kind of like thrown at you in the screen, and just knowing exactly what to do. Like in this case, the apple a day, if you hadn't told me I needed to mash, I would not have guessed.
Mhm.
um
Yeah.
so with like, because I assume that the WarioWare microgames were the inspiration, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's really we combine the team of the Jam, who
Hmm.
has to do something on cliches. Um, on the Game Jam page, they provided like a list of 1,000 cliches. And I just thought, oh yes, that's a good idea. We could like for each of them do a WarioWare style mini game.
Hmm.
So that was the original inspiration.
Yeah, and I think it is a fantastic idea for a game jam to take each one of these idioms, because they give you that list of like over 4,000, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, and then just turn. How much time was spent combing through that list to see which ones would make the best mini games?
Quite a while. Uh, yeah, it took some time. I would say like most of the idioms are not fit to make a mini games.
Mhm.
It's only the longer ones that work. Also, a lot of cliches are like made of negative sentences, like
Mhm.
"Don't put all of your eggs in the same in the same basket" or something like that. And this one are really tricky. We spent some time trying to design something around this one, but it was like impossible.
Right.
So yeah, this really reflects the easiest one. I'm not sure we can really. I really initially thought, oh, that's a great idea. We'll be able to find tons of mini games.
Mhm.
In the end, we struggle a little bit towards the end to find a design for some of these games. Like the last one we did was the early bird catches a worm,
Mhm.
and the catches the flies. That version doesn't exist. We just made that up to to make the game fit.
Yeah. Again, just like I guess after like a couple, I guess a bit more of a trial and error sort of thing, I realized like, well, the only thing on screen here is the flies, and I'm not supposed to be avoiding them, so I guess that means I should be grabbing them.
Mhm,
So I basically figured out how to play every game except the Apple a Day one.
mhm,
That's the one where, just because nothing else in the game requires you to mash, at least as far as I can tell,
mhm.
everything else was like fell into categories of I was able to figure it out on the very first try, or I was able to figure it out after failing a couple times. I think the Apple a Day is the only one that I would criticize as being like not something that I would have figured out if you hadn't told me.
Yeah, and you make a good point on we thought about like adding an arrow
Mm.
up the head of the character, just to indicate like you have to keep mashing. But that's not something we have really had the time to implement. But I'm yeah.
In terms of the like monkey see, monkey do one, that's the sequence is just a little bit long for me to remember, especially if I'm trying to keep up a conversation. Like if I were to stop and say, okay, left, up, left, down, right, then it would I'd probably be able to keep that one in memory. The only thing I would suggest for that one is the you could make the sequence as long as it is if it was only lefts and rights. Um, because then it would just be like left, left, right, right, left, left, right, right, something like that. Like that's okay if it's a longer sequence. Just
Mhm.
because it is ups and downs and lefts and rights, that's where you start losing track of like, oh boy,
Or because there are like four directions.
it just becomes like slightly harder to keep track of
I
like
see.
the length of the sequence. But again, I feel like it's reasonably something that I could keep in memory if I was saying it out loud and I wasn't also trying to hold a conversation, right? This is a self imposed difficulty increase.
Mhm.
Does the rolling stone, does the position of the stones randomize?
Not really, and not the level, like you're doing the same level over and over.
Mm-hmm.
I also consider like having a bit not necessarily yeah, randomizing the obstacles. So
Mm-hmm.
so it's a bit a different gameplay each time. Yeah, that would be something nice.
The other like there is another WarioWare minigame that does exactly that. Like you have to remember the sequence of a um like someone doing lefts and rights, and the character actually has a little voice line where they go like left, right, left.
Yeah.
And I did notice that the sound effects were different for the monkey like doing the dance in the different directions, but is the sound actually tied to the direction, or are you just picking a random sound each time?
Yeah, it is. It's a specific sound for each direction. So like the up
Okay.
sound is always the same.
Okay. So you could sort of build out your game knowledge over time to start getting familiar with that.
With the sound, yeah. To be fair, it's these voices we took it like from free assets, and
Yeah.
there isn't as much diversity in the sounds as I would have liked to. So they are different, but not that different. I realize.
Yeah, I mean it was just different enough that when I was paying attention to it, I could realize that they were different.
Hmm.
Um, but the yeah, again, it comes down to like playtesting, obviously, which I don't know. Like for this jam, did you have much of an opportunity to get some like playtesting feedback on it?
Not really. So we are like we were two people designing the game, so we
Hmm.
tested it. But the thing is that these games are not that hard, and we know
Hmm.
the control in advance. So clearly, I'm like it's really great that we are doing that now because I can really see what happens when someone opens the game for the first time and tries it.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's a big part of why I want to do these as like a live stream, so that you can actually go back and look at the VOD and see
Hmm.
like exactly which games I was able to understand, which ones were confusing to me, etc. Um, so that being said, like, do you have plans for a post-gen version of this game?
Maybe. So the one of the intention was to have this system built. So like now it's easy to design new little games. We take it as a useful tool to experience with what we learn because like we are both like beginner game devs,
Hmm.
and sometimes you find a tutorial to do something cool,
Yeah.
and but it's hard to like make a full game on that thing you just learned.
Hmm.
What we intend to try for the future is just like, okay, we learned that thing. Let's find another cliche, another idiom, and do a little game about that and add it to this game.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic way to like get a very short turnaround on applying what you've learned. So have with the in terms of the individual mini games, are you thinking about trying to introduce some, like, is it basically just the same game? Like, does the time decrease that you have to do them, or
Yeah, it goes faster and faster. So that's how the difficulty evolves. On WarioWare, you have that level where you both have an increase in like difficulty and speed. So maybe that's something we could try to implement. And like I will totally see that for the monkeys, for instance, we could start with 2 directions as a first level of difficulty and having like the 4 directions only after the first round. Something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally start with just left and right, and then you can left right up, and then left right down, or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So there's definitely, yeah, there's the possibility of making additional levels to each of these, but the what's the way that you have the games actually queued up in the randomizer?
So correct me. I'm with the other developer, so she will correct me if I'm wrong. But
Okay.
basically, we have that list of all the games. There is a randomizer that will just pick one game. Once you've done all of them, we just restart another loop.
Okay.
There is something that makes sure that 2 games cannot be like the last game and the first game of a loop cannot be the same one.
Right.
But that's pretty much it.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I definitely didn't notice myself seeing any repeats, because that is basically how I would have suggested to do it. Like, you can either like populate the list and then shuffle it, and then just serve the entire list, and then, like, yeah, as long as you're not taking a naive approach of just like hoping to randomize the game each time. And yeah, a shuffled list, I think, is definitely the right way to go there. So yeah, I guess just in terms of general feedback, do you want to stick with the structure of the idiom being like half revealed and then resolved once the player is actually able to complete the current task?
Complete the game. That's a good question. Like, what do you think? Do you think like having everything in the beginning will help?
It's difficult to say, because the one, like, don't shoot was a little confusing, because as I just didn't realize that was don't shoot the messenger. It's like, oh, okay, so that, because the very first time I saw it, like, I'm very used to playing odd one out, and it's like, oh, okay, so I shoot the one that looks different from the others. But it's like, no, it's actually the opposite. You have to shoot the 2 that are the same and not shoot the one that's the different. So that one was just a little bit confusing. I think that the like if the idiom or the cliche is popular enough, then you don't really need to worry about a player not understanding it. Like, a rolling stone gathers no moss breaks so perfectly into 2 halves, but on the other hand, like, the game itself is also very intuitive. Like, you have momentum, you are trying to not fall or not hit anything, so you can just kind of automatically figure that out. Maybe, like, in terms of gaining the success, like, I understand that it does give it a little bit of identity, but I think there's nothing wrong with the idea of just telling the player the entire cliche up front, and then that helps add some clarity. And I think if you do end up making a lot of these, then you could, like similar to WarioWare, you could group together the ones that use just the keyboard, just the arrow keys, or the arrow keys plus the spacebar,
Mhm.
just so
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way you don't have to like switch between different control schemes.
yeah. And I think in WarioWare, what they do is that they will do one level with one input system,
Hmm.
the next one with another one, and only at the end they put like everything together. But at that point, you as a player is really used to all of this, and you know
Yeah,
exactly what you have to do.
exactly. Um, hello, Canon Artiste. Yes, there we got the dancing monkeys in this WarioWare style game. I will reshare the link in chat in case anyone else would like to try it. It is a lot of fun, and I think that obviously in the scope of a game jam, you don't have so many different games that you can sub sort them by the control
Mhm.
scheme. Until you have a lot more games that require the entire alphabetical keyboard, I would recommend probably cutting that particular minigame, or at the very least giving the player a lot more time for that one, because like sometimes the word is short, sometimes the word is long, sometimes you have to
Mhm.
scroll both down and up to make sure that you fully understand what the word is going to be.
Yeah,
Um, oh, interesting. A casual, easy mode to show the entire idiom could be neat. Uh, that's a possibility, but even then, like you'll figure out the idioms kind of before long anyway. So I figure that I'm just thinking in terms of like what do you gain from hiding the idioms? Not a
yeah,
lot.
not that much. Initially, I thought it was like the reward, like you're trying to figure out what to do, and
Hmm.
when you got it, you get the end of the message and say, "Hey, I knew it was that one."
Yeah.
But the thing is that it only happens once, uh, and after that, I think you just don't pay attention of what's written on the screen.
Yeah, and there is definitely a little bit of like that sort of guessing, that feeling of like, oh yeah, okay, I know what this means. I know what this means. And you probably saw that on the VOD when I was first trying out the game.
Mhm.
But I think that overall the most important thing to a player in these WarioWare games is knowing what to do.
Mhm.
And I think that giving the player the full hint of what the idiom is going to contribute to that understanding of what to do. So that's why I'd be sort of more inclined to like tell the player the full idiom. Um, or
The only
the
drawback with that is that some idioms are quite long, and
mhm.
contrary to like WarioWare, where it's just written like shoot or
Yes,
pull,
and that,
do something. Now
they're
you have
very good
like
at that.
a rolling rock gathers normals. It's a bit long, but yeah.
It's the only other thing I can think of might be that when you first start the minigame, you try to give that like super short description of what to do, just like WarioWare. And then when you succeed, that's when you show the full idiom like over top of the game screen. That
Yeah,
could be
like
an option.
instructions and the idioms could be like two separate things.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
instructions are what you see at the very beginning just to really clue the player in as to what to do. And then
Mhm.
once you've hit that point of success, that's when you have the actual like full idiom displayed on the screen.
Mhm.
There's a possibility. Otherwise, um, yeah. So I think yeah, I'm just trying to go back over the things we've discussed here, but like separating out the different control schemes, I think will help. Like it's not too big of a deal. The only one that feels like an odd one out at this point is the A to Z, like using the keyboard to type things out. Um, Otherwise, it's not so hard to just keep your hands on the arrow keys and the spacebar. So I'd say even those could be mixed. Like if you only subdivide them into two categories of games, being the games that you play with the whole keyboard versus the games that you play with maybe the spacebar and the arrow keys or just the arrow keys by themselves. Like those could just be two categories. If you eventually develop enough games that you're playing with the arrow keys and the spacebar separately, then I can imagine further subdividing those. And similarly, like the Apple one for just like needing to mash, I can imagine that working with just the spacebar by itself, because you do have right the Rolling Stone actually is a just using the spacebar, right?
Yeah, and that's the only one, if I'm correct.
Yeah, so I think the Apple one could be adjusted, because if you only have a single input and you don't have the character controller that can move left and right, then it becomes a little more obvious that it's like, oh, okay, well, every time I push the spacebar, my character moves a little bit, but then he's pushing back on me, so I guess I just need to keep mashing it.
Yeah, that's right. On that game, we don't really need to have that movement where the apple just can go left or right on the platform, because there's no really point in the game of doing that. The only thing you have to do is go left and push the other character. So yeah, that could like the walking when they first meet could just be an animation, and then you mash that spacebar. I think that will makes things easier for for the player.
I'm glad that it becomes impossible to lose a minigame after you've succeeded, because if the rock hits the lemonade, then
Also on that one, on the birds, you got actually a little bug when you eat two birds of the same color. It doesn't trigger the victory condition. But yeah, it's intentional.
I was gonna say, it's like, yeah, I don't think I quite did that one. And right, so that was the other thing I was gonna say, is like you need to make sure you include the word enter to know that you have to finish typing. Or you could just make it so that once the user has fully typed the word, it just automatically clicks over.
It just clicks. Yeah, that would make sense.
So either way, are there any other control schemes that you can think of that you want to use? Like maybe including the mouse in some games, or enter, or have you thought of anything else like that?
The mouse could be one, but I think it would be more. It would be something that will need to be incorporated if we do like series of mini games using one specific input. Just because otherwise, like, you have your hands in the position on the keyboard and you're not like prepared to switch with the mouse all the time. I think maybe a combination of one button that you keep pressed, like a charging, like, when you type a capitalized word, you will like press shift on one thing, and that mixed of maintain one button pressed and do something else. Yeah, that could be something else. But yeah, that's all I thought at this point.
How many different words are there for the read between the lines?
So initially there were not a lot, and it was really easy because it was dog, cat, and us, and so. So that one I thought was really too easy, and that's one of the last edits I did on this game, was to add a bunch of others. But no, I feel like it became like a little bit too hard, because now you have flamingo, hippopotamus, chameleon, and I've playtested a little bit, and like the highest score you can reach is a bit lower than it used to be, just because of that. I think that's the most limiting one.
I think for that one, like I already suggested having a longer time, but I think you could also consider not worrying about case sensitivity. Like if the so I know why you added case sensitivity, right? Is for things like tiger, you have to scroll all the way up to see the T. And because if everything is capitalized, then you see all the letters. There's never a mystery of what's above or below.
Mhm.
Um, but I guess even something like Tiger could still work. You just have to scroll not quite as high up. But even if what the user sees, how about this? Even sorry, bumped my mic there. Even if the word that is written is tiger with like capital T, lowercase I-G-E-R,
Mhm.
the user doesn't actually have to hold shift to do the correct capitalization. It can just like if you hit the letter T, it'll automatically capitalize it for you, and then anything after that is lowercase, and you don't have to worry about that. That's a very small thing. I don't think it's making too much of a difference. Um, but if you
No, but that's definitely a good point and a good way to think about it. I think it could be displayed as it is, like with a capitalize in the beginning, but the user should be like should have an easier time to type. Just type it, capitalize or not, and it just take it. Uh,
I think that's going to make a relatively small difference. The other
yeah.
thing I would suggest is just having words of a more uniform length. But again, if you end up making
Mhm.
the different difficulty levels, then that is something that's very easy to obviously like the further you get, the longer the word can be. But I'll be honest, chameleon is not a word that I'm going to remember the E and the O at the end at the best of times. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No.
um,
Same here.
I I think you can go back through the dictionary and pick words that are specifically meant to look similar to each other, so that the player has to double check
Mm.
and make sure they're typing like, oh, is it? I see something that looks like this word, but I've got to like scroll the thing up because it might be um, well, honestly, I can't I can't think of an example off the top of my head of like two words that look similar, but you can sort of have the trick of like, is it an L or is it a T or is it a
Mhm.
um is it an A or is it a G? Like, because the lowercase g can look similar to an A if you don't scroll down to see that. So
Yep.
I think it's difficult to come up with the set of words that makes that particular game work. Um, it's kind of like a weirdly disproportionate amount. Like you have to put a lot of effort to make that one game work just right.
Mhm.
But I guess this is all you can decide what polish you think is actually worthwhile.
Yeah, no, but that's all very good points and really good way to think about about it. Um,
All right. Well, I think that's about all the feedback that I have for now, but I wish you the best of luck with the continued development of this and other projects. But thank you so much for making the time to come on the stream and talk about the game with me.
Thanks a lot for having me, and it was really great to see someone play the game, and you had really a lot of feedback for us, and that was fantastic. Thanks a lot.
All right. And yeah, have yourself a great weekend. Bye bye for now.
You too.